Hello YouTubers, this is Gold Standard 0924 coming at you with another video. Gonna start up another entry in this TV Forgotten Gems for today. And the TV show I'll be discussing for in this video is a short-lived family sitcom entitled Odd Man Out. So Odd Man Out centers around this middle-class family who are coping with the death of their father. And our lead protagonist, Andrew Whitney, who is portrayed by Eric Von Detten, remains as the only man in the household, consisting of his sisters, a mother, along with an aunt who comes in and out to take care of the family. So, in hindsight, this show came out during the time when ABC's TGIF block was on its last legs, and basically, this would be the last traditional sitcom to air. And and while there is another show that came after it called Making the Band, which was like a reality based show, um, Odd Man Out was basically the last sitcom to air during the original run of the TGIF era. And this era lasted from like 1989 to 2000. So it came out at a pretty unfortunate time. I can't really remember too much about the show other than the fact that Eric Von Detten was on the show and just the TV intro of the series, even though it was only like somewhere between 10 to 15 seconds of an intro. But other than that, I had pretty vague memories watching this show, and I pretty much watched everything that was on the Friday night comedy block. Obviously you had Boy Meets World, Sabrina, um, a couple other shows. Now the thing is with TGIF by this point, people think of that particular block, they think of the two shows that I mentioned. And then you also had Full House and Hang with Mr. Cooper. And then also you had Family Matters, Step by Step. And the latter two shows were the household staples of TGIF during the early mid half of the 1990s. And then somewhere around the line of 1997, Step by Step and Family Matters were yanked off of ABC, and they both migrated over to CBS, which in hindsight unfortunately led to its cancellation in 1998. So as a result, ABC's TGIF block was starting to go through a lot of changes during that time. Disney had purchased the ABC network, so it had a pretty big effect on the particular station. So by this point, you only had Boy Meets World and Sabrina to keep the network breathing alive, basically. And then you also have another half of shows from the TGIF block that just didn't really have a long lasting impact. Shows like Teen Angel, Two of a Kind with the Olsen twins, You Wish, which was basically like a 1990s version of I Dream of Janine, and obviously this show that I'm discussing about in this video entitled Odd Man Out. So it was a really unfortunate time for the block, a pretty downer, if you will, and they were starting to cater more towards the teenagers, the young adult audience, as opposed to just being like the traditional family-friendly sitcom that TGIF was most known for. To kind of sum it up at best, ABC TGIF block was starting to become more like what TNBC was on NBC, and just things went south. And even though they brought it back in 2003, they just lacked the same magic that um, the early years of TGIF block had. So that was pretty much the whole what was basically going on during the time of this show came out. So it didn't really manage to last only about 13 episodes at best, and it just never really had a chance. Um, Now I do remember, Eric Von Detten being on this show because, I've seen a lot of his other stuff before this. A lot of people know him as Sid from the original Toy Story movie. He was in the Disney Channel original movie called Brink, and as well as the sci-fi drama called So Weird, where he played Clue Bell, who was the comic relief of the show. And he was on that show for about a season and a half. And about a couple episodes into season two, his character was written off so that he could attend college, basically. And then they had his brother named Carrie take over Eric Von Detten's role. So, yeah, eventually this kind of explains why Eric Von Detten was absent throughout most of So Weird afterwards, because he successfully auditioned for this particular role as the lead character of Odd Man Out. Because basically, with this show, it's I don't know. I mean, it's recycled a lot of stuff from previous sitcoms, and it does have cited some influence. Like take for instance, with Full House, because not only it was another show on TGIF, but it also had family, a death in the family, with Danny Tanner's wife, who had unfortunately passed away due to a car accident, and he has to like raise his $3, and he also had Joey and Uncle Jesse to help take care of the family, basically. And some of that influence kind of goes into that Odd Man Out. Three's Companies, which resembled the dynamic of having a single male that's dominated by a group of women who are living in the same household. So I think those two shows kind of had some influence, because it's one of those shows, um, or two of those shows. Odd Man Out wasn't anything groundbreaking necessarily. You also had Jessica Capshaw on the show. This was one of her earlier acting gigs. And, she would go on to have her breakout success as Arizona Robbins on the hit medical drama Grey's Anatomy. So it was very interesting to see what it was like. Yeah, so you also have her on there. Um, I think the actor that played Eric Von Detten's best friend on the show, named Keith, he was portrayed by Trevor Furman. I think that's what his name. And people know him on the sequel to the original Clerks movie. Um, so yeah, so he was on here. He didn't really do a whole lot in terms of acting, whether it be involving TV shows or movies. So this is other than his role in Clerks. Odd Man Out was pretty much his only known TV role to date. So he's gonna definitely appear in the upcoming Clerks 3 movie that's in pre-production, I believe. Um, so yeah, that's Trevor Furman. There were some notable guest stars on this show. Some stars include Will Friedle from Boy Meets World, and he actually made a little cameo as a photographer for a swimsuit magazine of sorts. It was like an episode where like the family was gonna throw a party, and the older sister, I believe what her name was Paige, was shooting, becoming a aspiring model. So yeah, she went, she returns home, and then she was crying, and things weren't going the way as planned. And then Andrew had to come in and basically give the photographer a sucker punch, Will Friedle's character, that is. Um, yeah, so he had a little role in that episode. It wasn't a whole lot, but that's why they call it a cameo. You also have Brandon Routh, hard to believe, and he was a Clark Kent in Superman Returns, and is currently playing Ray Palmer on the hit superhero show Arrow. So it was pretty interesting to see. Also, one of his earlier acting roles. So, and they're supposed to have a spin-off show for Arrow entitled Adam. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, so he was on this show as a little guest appearance. And then you also have Christine Locken, who knows as people know her as Al Lambert on Step by Step, and she appeared as Andrew's girlfriend in what would turn out to be the series finale. Um, yeah, so those are some of the notable guest stars I listed on there. I'm pretty sure there were more celebrity guest stars, but these are the only ones I've listed. Um, I could have sworn in that same episode that Will Friedle guest starred on. I could have sworn in the background that that one of the actors looked like Ryder Strong. I'm not sure if that was exactly him, but it was like you had like Eric Von Denton's character and the best friend Keith, and they were both playing this. They were both performing for a guitar concert, and then the power went out and stuff, and it looks somewhat resembling like Ryder Strong in the audience, but I'm not really sure if that was him because I tried looking it up on Internet Movie Database and look up his credits, but I couldn't find to no avail. Basically, I can't really officially confirm that he was the guest star in that same episode. Ironically enough, but yeah, those are like the notable guest stars on this show. Um, yeah, so Odd Man Out overall. I mean, it only ran for 13 episodes. I do like some of the chemistry that went on between Andrew and Keith. I thought they brought some life to the table. Um, Keith's character, with as far as the Keith character was concerned, he somewhat reminds me a bit of like, Kimmy Gibbler in Full House. He was kind of like, the guy next door, from the, that annoys the family, like the Tanner family, like Kimmy Gibbler would annoy the Tanner family in Full House. And it sort of reminds me of, an Odd Man Out where, Keith is kind of coming in and annoying the Whitney family. It kind of reminds me of that, what Kim Gibbler was in Full House. Um, and his crush with Paige on the show also kind of reminds me, the fact that Laura would always reject Steve on Family Matters. So, yeah, so it sort of reminds me of it just basically seemed to rehash some ideas from the previous TGIF shows, basically. Um, so yeah, but I mean, he was the comic relief of the show because a lot of those shows tend to have like some sort of a pretty similar formula as far as who the breakout comedy star is supposed to be. So um, it's kind of what you expect with with the shows from that particular era. So what else? Yeah, and yeah, I believe the reason why the show was canceled. Before I get to the end of the video, um, instead of actually promoting the show and discussing what the show was mainly about, they did like some kind of promo with like a bunch of random fangirls screaming at Eric Von Denton's name um just the overall promo just discussed the fact that Eric Von Denton's going to get his own TV show basically. And that just really I think poor promotion and poor marketing, however you want to put it, kind of played a big factor as to why the show didn't really catch on with the general audience because their intention was to cater the show towards teenage girls basically, and that had an effect of the show's lack of longevity. And this was also the factor in that this was the time when the whole teen idol craze started getting big. The boy bands and the Backstreet Boys, the NSYNCs, and then you also have your pop princesses like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Mandy Moore. Um, yeah, so that's basically what summed up not only Odd Man Out but the entire TGIF block during the later half of the '90s. So yeah, which was pretty unfortunate looking back at that. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. So, hope I wasn't rambling as much as I did. I hope I got my points validly across. So Odd Man Out overall, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could say that, it was somewhat of a disappointing show because we've seen the same formula with previous TGIF sitcoms. So that's it for my Forgotten Gems entry for today. And let me know what you thought about this show. And until next time, this is the Gold Standard 0924 signing out.